Hello, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well, and thank you for submitting your entries for journal contest number two. I really enjoyed reading those over the weekend, and thanks for voting. We've got it now down to our final four, so we're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and read the four stories for you to kind of hear out loud, and then we're going to ask you to vote for your top two once the stories are finished. So you'll vote for which one you think is first place and which one you would consider second place. And then we'll be able to let you know after we tally all those votes who the winner for journal contest number two is. So sit back and listen, and you can read along with on the screen the stories for the journal contest number two. Our first story is The Countdown. I scraped another tally onto the wall, looked around at the second set of bars I had now created around me. 1,762 days gone, but not wasted, no. 1,762 days to get smart, to think of every angle possible, to plan the perfect revenge, so good that they would never be able to recover from it. I hadn't grown bitter over these months and years, it was more like growing insane. Given the same amount of food every single day, eating the same garbage every single day, listening to the same men whine and cry about getting out of here while the other fake tough guys shut them up every single day. I like a good routine, but this has just been too much. Eventually, a man has to get out, see the world, and not by mowing the lawn in an orange jumpsuit with officers on every side. I wasn't out to hurt people, not really. I just want my normal life back. By this point, I don't even care if the people that put me here get in jail themselves or not. They owe me, not the justice system. They owe me 1,762 days. They thought I'd forget, but I remember everything. The day they had been talking about in low voices around the pier. The day I was on my way to work and stopped by the pier for some fresh air. The day I completely accidentally overheard their conversation. The day I ran faster than I ever could. The day I hid in fear. The day they caught me. The day I thought would never end. They thought I'd forget, but I remember everything. Our next story is titled Live a Little. Behind her, the noise escalated. It flooded her ears, but she comprehended none of it. She felt a wave of light-headed weightlessness. The noise in her ears was replaced with water, and the chaos was muffled like a hand muffling a child's rambling mouth. She felt a pair of arms scooping her out from underwater and laying her on the shore. The sirens were unbearable. Her thoughts pulsed along with the sirens in her head. She's dead. She's dead. She's dead because of us. 10 minutes earlier, come on, let's go find them. We're so late. We giggled and we scurried down the side of the forested hill. We caught a glimpse of our friends by the lake, and burst of excitement propelled us faster over the roots and plants. This was our senior summer, our last together, so we planned to spend a couple of days camping in the woods upstate. We were a gaggle of 18-year-olds with enough energy to power a small city. We met the others down by the edge of the lake, coarse sand and pebbles between our toes. I joined a group of other friends chatting by the shore. I heard an eruption of laughter behind me, and I turned my head to see my friend with a large group of guys on a little cliff overlooking the lake. I turned back to my conversation, but heard moments of theirs. Come on, last summer, cliff, I dare you to jump. No, why not? No, live a little. My friends and I decided to go see what the noise was about. Then they started swinging her. On the count of three, they thrust her into the air, and she plopped into the lake. This was followed by a childish whooping and hooting. All I did was laugh along, but then the noise faded. The water was still. I laughed and called her name. No response. It was silent. I ran into the lake, realizing this wasn't a joke anymore. As soon as I took a step into the water, I knew what had happened. Rocks, sharp boulders decorating the bottom of the lake. I froze and saw my friend, or what used to be my friend. Water filled my ears. And next we have A Glass Half Empty. I loom over the empty valley below. The perspiration was dripping down my sides. My opaque color begins to fade into a condensed cloud. I realize that there is no hope. The vast chasms are filled with towering creatures. The sun beams down evaporation and my insides. I realize it will be sooner than later before I'm gone. I peer out in a desperate attempt to continue. The sudden shaking of my earth causes me to tremble. The water insides create rings out of my fear. The towering beast storms up to me with a look of death. The monstrous hands grab me. The impending doom is coming. The creature pours my insides into its open mouth. It is gasping for air once it is finished. The monster throws me into the ground. I can feel the pain coming forward. A loud crashing sound is heard. A voice is heard. "Clean up the broken glass," is yelled from the other room. Next we have closet door. Marcia. Yes, dear. Do we know any Strobridges? I looked down at the letter in my hand, an invitation to a party sent by a Sir Bennet Strobridge. No, I don't think so, she said after a moment's pause. I turned back to examining the letter. When I was about to speak again, she came into the room, wiping her hands on her apron. Why do you ask? There's this invitation here from them. I passed her the paper. Were they the family that lived by the river? Lots of tall windows and a weather vane with a fish on it? No, their name was just Bridges, Lucy and Carl Bridges. Are the Strobridges the one down the lane who babysat Stephen that one time when we were going to go see your aunt? I don't remember. Perhaps. Look at the address. Maybe you'll recognize it. She turned the paper over where, in an elegant looping script, an address was listed. Number 17, Pembleton Lane. No, I don't recall it. Should we go? It sounds like it might be a big party. Surely we'll be able to remember them when we see them. I see no reason not to, I said, taking the letter back from her. On Saturday evening at 7 o'clock we arrived at the house, the dark, towering edifice of which neither of us recognized, and were ushered in by a servant. Right this way, Mr. Strobridge is expecting you. We were shown to an atrium with plush couches and tall windows. There was no one else in the room and only one other door. It was painted an almost impossibly dark black, and when one looked closely at it, ornately carved with stars and symbols I didn't understand. Its narrowness, especially compared to the huge double doors, which seemed to be a theme in this house, suggested a closet door. After at least a half an hour of sitting in the room alone, our conversation turned once again to the strange and prolonged absence of our host. The servant did say we were to wait in here, didn't he? Yes, I'm sure of it. Well, it seems to me that... I was cut off by a loud knocking from the black door. It sounded muffled, almost as if it came from several meters behind the door. The knocking stopped abruptly. There was no accompanying call, and the door did not open. We sat in silence. Mr. Strobridge, is that you? I called out, with a voice that sounded higher than I expected. The knocking started again, but there was no answer to my question. I rose from my seat, ignoring my wife's hand on my shoulder, which gently invited me to sit back down. My curiosity battled with the cold feeling in my chest. I had read far too much Poe recently. The knocking behind the door seemed to become more and more frantic, beating in time with my heart. Who's there? I implored of the ebony door. I was answered with another flurry of the distant-sounding knocks. Before my weakening knees could convince me otherwise, I reached out and turned the tarnished silver handle. A quick breath, and I pushed on the door. It creaked slightly as it swung inward, with a sound that grated on my eardrums, and then stopped with a dull thunk on something lying just inside. The crack in the doorframe showed nothing but pitch darkness. Thank you, said a voice impossibly close, as if they had their face pressed to the tiny opening in the door. I felt my bones freeze at the words. Only 2 words. Could I be mistaken? I prayed for the possibility, but 17 years as a husband could leave me no uncertainty. It was beyond the shadow of a doubt, the voice of my wife. Marcia! I turned back briefly toward where she sat, on the couch behind me, except she was standing behind me, and spoke in a voice that was not her own. Dear, I believe it's time for you to go. Okay, so there you go. There's the 4 stories for this journal contest. Again, as soon as the video ends, vote for your top 2. Which one do you think would be your first choice, and which one would you vote for second? So again, we have the countdown, live a little, A glass half empty, closet door. Thanks for voting, and we will announce the winners tomorrow.